One more game left, and then week one will be in the books. So we're here to break it all down, all the good, the bad, and of course the ugly. We know fantasy football. It's mostly fun, but not always. I mean, look, half of you're going to win, half of you're going to lose. That's how it is, but it's early. So let's just all take a deep collective breath and we won't overreact too much. Now, there are some things maybe we should, but let's talk about what went down. So I don't know, Chris. I think it was a interesting week. I don't really know how else to define it. Just so obviously, there's always unexpected things that happen, but it was interesting.
Yeah, I guess interesting is a word. I mean, I was trying to think of like a week one like this where just so many unexpected. Like, there's always a few weeks every year where unexpected stuff. I mean, unexpected stuff happens every week, but I feel like there's a few weeks every year where lots of unexpected stuff happens. I don't ever remember it being like week one where there was just so much stuff that happened that was like, didn't see that coming. Didn't see that coming.
Well, we have to remind ourselves, and of course, there's always people that do it online, and this is a ritual. Look, all the guys that were drafted early in fantasy, all the top players in the league, will not all go off in week one. It's just
Right.
It's not how it works. It's not possible. Sure. So there's always guys that have duds, and you'll remind you. I remember last year, Devontae Smith had 0 in week one, and he went on to be fine. Austin Eckler didn't really do much in week one. Okay, yeah. So there's we're not panicking about like T. Higgins, and we're not dropping Drake London and stuff like that. Although, you know what, if you want the full breakdown, I do believe Chris told you the appropriate level of panic for all of those players. If you watch the Panic Players video, you should do that. There's some people that, you should be worried about, so We'll talk about those. But I think to me, the thing that, and this is kind of lesson learned, not that we could have seen it coming, but the teams that we think, and I still think, are going to be the worst in the league this year, like the Arizona, the Colts, the Rams, just thought that they would come in and just get rolled, or at the very least, it would not be close. Well, the Rams, I don't know what happened. I don't know if this is on Pete Carroll or what. They rolled Seattle in Seattle. The second half, they didn't even score a single point. Seattle was winning at halftime. They didn't score a single point.
Yeah, that was definitely unexpected. I'll take over for here with the dogs going nuts. Dogs, obviously Seahawks fans, I guess, but yeah, that was unexpected. But I think what it shows, like you talked about Arizona, everybody just assumed they're tanking. They're not trying to win. That's not how the NFL works. Every team, no matter how bad we think they are, thinks they are good and thinks they can win and tries to win. Maybe towards the end of the season, like, look, last year, Denver against the Rams, they rolled over in that game. That game where Cam Akers had like 3 touchdowns and Russell Wilson threw like 3 picks or whatever. But they knew their season was over. But right now, every team is going to play hard. The Cardinals almost started the season 1-0. Like, they were this close to being 1-0. A team that everybody thinks that they're just going to tank this year and just not even try. It's not how it works in the NFL. So, yeah, week one is usually the week you see a lot of upsets. And in fact, I just saw something. I think only where is it here? Only like 4 home teams. 1, 2, 3, 4. Only 5 home teams even won this week.
Yeah, that's not typical. I mean, look, I think also you have to always remember, because of the way the preseason works, the defenses are ahead of the offenses early in the season. And that's and we'll get to like some of the big players that flopped, that busted, of course, were the quarterbacks. Mahomes. Okay, he didn't have Kelsey, but still, we got to worry about that wide receiver group. I mean, as a whole. Burrow, it was raining. It's not because of the rain. Trust me. Deshaun Watson didn't go for 83 yards because of the rain. It's because he didn't play the entire preseason and he was not 100%. Who knows if he is still 100%? He played. It doesn't mean he's fully healthy, right? He wanted to be out there. So there's other things involved. And we just always have to remember, even as bad as we think a defense is going to be, I still think Arizona is going to have a terrible defense, right? I still think the Colts are going to have a ton of points, but the offenses that are going to be the elite offenses, like the Chiefs, they'll be fine in the long run. The Jaguars didn't look great, but eventually they got it going. those offenses eventually will get better. They're just not there week one. So, thinking, Commanders are going to blow out, the Cardinals by 30 points. Like, come on. Like, we shouldn't have expected that. It's Sam Howell might be an upgrade, but I don't know if he looks like an upgrade. But even if he is, it's not going to be week one. You know what I'm saying? Where it just all magically clicks. So let's see. Now we're going to talk about a couple other things. By the way, we do have a lot of comments as usual. Appreciate everybody checking in. We're here to help answer your questions. You got last minute start-sit questions for tonight. One more game, Monday night. Obviously, big battle there, AFC East with Buffalo and the Jets. Aaron Rodgers making his Jets debut. We'll see how that goes. So if you do have something on the line still for tonight, you got questions, early waiver wire questions. Obviously, we're here for that. Waiver wire video is also out, so you can check that out. If you have trade questions, no, it's not too early to trade. That's the answer to that question. You should be looking already. This is the time to take advantage of some of those buy low opportunities. So quickly, before we get to the questions in the comments, we have to talk about running backs because everybody loves running backs. I think the other thing that we were surprised, but maybe shouldn't have been, is that some of these stud running backs we thought would just be workhorses, they were splitting a little bit more time than we thought. And I think this might be a trend here for a lot of teams where maybe they're not wanting to work their running backs out, too much in the early part of the season, except for Kyle Shanahan, of course.
Yeah. That was insane. It's like the game's well in hand, and he's just pounding Christian McCaffrey over and over. I'm like, okay, I hope this ends well. I hope he makes it through the season. But yeah, I mean, certainly like the big ones that come to mind, like Cam Akers looked like he was behind Kyron Williams for a lot of the game. Kyron Williams getting goal line run, that was a big one. What was another big one? I mean, Zeke, I'm not worried about Zeke. Ramondre still had 12 carries and 6 catches, but Zeke certainly was more involved than I expected, especially in the passing game. He was more involved. Who else? Swift didn't even did he even suit up? Did they even dress him yesterday? Like, what?
According to the box score, I guess he did touch the ball once or twice, and he was on there for like 12% of the snaps or something stupid. But I mean, that one makes sense to me. And I think to some extent, some of these make sense. And the other one, I think we're kind of surprised by Bijan. I mean, we thought Bijan would get, not that we thought he would get so much more as far as volume, but didn't expect Algier to get as many touches as he got. But
when you look at it, like, I think he actually outsnapped Algier. Algier did have more carries, and Algier did get 2 carries inside the 5, which was a little annoying. But this is the way I looked at that. The way I looked at that was like, okay, it's Bijan's first game. This is just, I guess, what teams do with rookies now. If this is the low point for his touches and performance, yeah, we're good. We're good. Because remember last year, Breece Hall, early in the year, was barely touching the ball. Michael Carter was like the lead back. Remember, Cordero Patterson was the lead back last year. Everybody loves Tyler Algier this year and is like, oh, he's going to eat into Bijan's workload. Last year, Cordero Patterson was the guy everybody loved in Atlanta. And Tyler Algier wasn't going to see the field because of Cordero Patterson. Like, okay, but look, Bijan had elite level usage. That touchdown was just a glimmer of what we are going to see from this guy. And like we saw with Breece Hall, Michael Carter, James Robinson, Travis Etienne. People were dropping Travis Etienne last year after like 3 or 4 games because it was the James Robinson show. I'm not saying Tyler Algier is bad because he's not. He's a fine running back. But when you have a fine running back and a guy who can do what Bijan did on that touchdown, like I promise you, Tyler Algier does not score a touchdown on that play. He just doesn't. Eventually, that guy gets the ball significantly more than the other guy, and that's what is going to happen here. So I looked at it as like, okay, well, maybe this is a buy low opportunity for Bijan, but also like, if this is the least he's going to get used this year, oh man, he's going to have a big year. He's going to have a huge year. Huge year.
And that's, maybe I'm just being overly optimistic, but I'd like to think that, looking forward, I'm starting to look at the bigger picture here as it's not just one team this happened to, one running back that,
Yeah.
Swift, it makes sense because his past, his injury history. Like honestly, there's no way you can convince me that Kenneth Gainwell is going to get like 90% of the touches for that running back room all season long.
No way.
I think they're keeping Swift under bubble wrap because this is a team that was close to a championship, right? Very close to a championship. They don't need him week 1, 2, 3. They want him to be in one piece for the playoffs. So why not ease him into things, right? Not give away too much of how they're going to use him. Same with the rookies, Bijan, Gibbs. We already know Gibbs is going to be used more. And I think some of these veterans to some extent too. I think, I don't know if Austin Eckler's a great example because it's shocking to see that Joshua Kelly got as many rush attempts as Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
I mean, they both did great, so it didn't matter. But, I don't know if that matters because, are the Chargers really planning a Super Bowl run? And number two, isn't Austin Eckler a free agent? So maybe they don't care so much about running him to the ground. But, to some extent, I think a lot of these running backs, they're just going to kind of wait a little bit before pressing him too hard. So, but we will see. All right. We're going to get to your questions. We do have some people waiting on the super chat. Appreciate that. So we're going to get to those. First of all, reminder, number one, you got a question for tonight, put it out there. If you want to guarantee that you get your question answered, of course, use that super chat because then that pops up and we definitely make sure that we will get to that. Also, best way to watch the game is following along with your picks on Underdog because you know that now they have not just the pick'ems for the game beforehand, they also have those in games. And, this is just becoming a daily routine. They're offering this freebie, trying to get you to win free money. So in this case, tonight, Aaron Rodgers, I know it's a new team, it's a tough matchup, but if you think he can get over the hump and go for 1 yard, you take the higher on that, and then you combine it with, any other pick that you like. You see there's several for each player, and they have defensive players as well. So whatever player you're interested in, whatever line you like there, pick higher, pick lower, combine it with Rodgers. You can triple your money, and you can go up to 20 times, try to get 20 times your money by picking up to 5. But of course, if you are new to Underdog and if you haven't tried it, use code ENDGAME because that gets you double your money, deposit match up to $100. So all sorts of different picks. Is there one that's jumping out to you right now? To me, I didn't draft Dalvin Cook early, honestly, in any but maybe one league this year, but I know Breece Hall is really not getting on the field tonight. And I feel like even against Buffalo, which is a good defense, but not necessarily a shutdown run defense, I feel like he can get over, 45 yards?
Yeah, I kind of like this 59.5 rushing plus receiving a little more because one thing we do know about Aaron Rodgers, he will throw it to the running back. And, Dalvin Cook can do some things in space. And it looks like the weather may not be great, although they're saying it may clear up by game time. So I think that one, I like that 59.5 rushing plus receiving yards. I think he can hit that.
There you go. But pick whichever one you want, combine them, and there you go. And you can even do the insured if you like it, if you like to play it safe while taking risks, then you can do that. You can do your insured picks. All of it's there. Just again, use that link. It's in the description as well. Download Underdog, use code ENDGAME to make sure you get that deposit match. All right. So let's get to the actual talking. And this, I think we should also mention, which, by the way, we said all fantasy draft season, right? What do we say? How should you be drafting? What should you be thinking of when you're drafting any player?
Upside.
So if you had Tyreek Hill, congrats, you probably won. I know this because I faced Tyreek Hill in about 4 different leagues this weekend.
Oh man, it's brutal.
I think one of them I'm winning, but yeah, for the most part, yeah. Having that Tyreek and Tua stack, yeah, you won. You probably won. All right. Actually, let me get to this before we get our first super chat. I usually say this, like, yeah, like you cannot, it's one game. And I love us these like per game and season stats. Like it's one game. It's not a season. It's not a per game. There is only one game, but there are some players you could drop after week 1.
Yeah, I think so. Like if you're going to pick somebody out, like I would be fine dropping Sky Moore. Maybe not in deeper leagues, but like if you're going to drop Sky Moore to pick up Kenneth Gainwell, Puka Nacua, whatever, like, yeah, do it.
You know what? I think that's the larger point there. You don't drop just for the sake of dropping, like, I got me a 0 drop. Like, no. But like, hey, this guy who looks like the number 1 receiver on this team is available. Maybe I should drop him for that player. Yes. Like it's more about who you're picking up than who you're dropping.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then this is the other way to look at it. Just flow. I'd rather get the jump before anybody else. That's smart.
So this is it's always an interesting debate, but over the years I've spent less and less because all my leagues are fab, but I found myself spending less and less early because what ends up happening is you grab, like, somebody's going to drop a bunch of money on Kenneth Gainwell. They just are. Not saying it'll be just flow, but somebody probably will.
Yeah.
And in like 4 or 5 weeks, DeAndre Swift's going to be playing 50% of the snaps, and suddenly Kenneth Gainwell is going to have very little value. And then it's going to be like the first round of the playoffs, and some running back's going to get hurt, and we know the next man up is player X, and you're not going to have any money to get that guy, and your opponent's going to get him, and you're going to lose when it matters most. So I'm not saying like I don't spend money early, but I just like to be a little more frugal early in the year, unless it's like Kenneth Walker last year, where we know, like, okay, Rashad Penny's out for the season. It's going to be Kenneth Walker's backfield.
Right.
But when we have these, even Puka Nacua, who looks like he might be the new Cooper Kupp, he's only going to be the new Cooper Kupp if Cooper Kupp doesn't come back.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
once Cooper Kupp comes back, guess what? He's the old Cooper Kupp again. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's so tricky. I mean, you can't just kind of speak in generalities. You're going to say, oh, spend early, spend late. It's all about who. It's not about when, it's about who. If you make the right pick early, yeah, you get that guy. It could be a league winner, sure. Or you could spend up on a lot of guys that are bums the rest of the year. So I generally agree, unless it's a clear-cut case where there's a guy who you know has a path to be a stud. How many people spent up on James Robinson last year?
Yeah. He was going to win league winner. He was a league winner until he wasn't.
He was for 4 weeks. And I think this is actually kind of true. A lot of the players just didn't look ready. Offenses don't look sharp. And especially guys who were nursing injuries all preseason. And, they're good to go for week 1. Yeah, they're good to go in terms of they can play. That doesn't mean they're going to be good when they play.
Yeah, I definitely think this is a very good point by Gary here. It just doesn't even feel like these teams do anything in preseason anymore. Like, practices are like an hour and a half, and then they're done. And it's just like, I don't think the players are. Yeah, I think, and it shows like I think it affects the offense more than the defense, because, the defense is a little more reactionary, right? Like, yes, of course they're calling plays and they're calling schemes, but it's a little more reactionary. Whereas offense it's like, if you're not getting to the right spot, you're not getting open, you're not hitting your blocks, the offense is going to fail.
Because it's all about timing. That's it. You don't have that timing down. The only way you get timing is with repetition. Repetition means practice. And that's exactly why. And especially with quarterbacks. I mean, it's easy to say now, we should have known Joe Burrow was going to bust. Well, yeah, but you know what? Same thing. Was it last year or the year before? Or was it both? Where his first game of the season, like the Bengals, didn't the Bengals look terrible early last year too?
Yeah, maybe we just got to learn our lesson. Don't start any Bengals in week 1.
There you go. Lesson learned. Too late for week 1 now. All right, Michael Cazares, thanks for the super chat. We appreciate it. So he traded Evans and Monty for Devontae in a non-PPR league. Do you like that?
I do. I have so tonight after the game, we'll be dropping our buy low running backs video, and then tomorrow we have our buy low wide receivers. I got Devontae Adams as a buy low wide receiver. He just got badly outplayed by Jacoby Myers. People were already worried about Jimmy G. They're like, oh my gosh, Jacoby Myers is his favorite target. And Adams is the type of receiver that I think has, I'm not going to say he doesn't have as much value in a standard scoring as he does in PPR, but he still has very good value because he'll rack up yardage. He's got touchdown upside. And I think you're selling high on Evans and Monty, honestly. I mean, I think, Evans will have his moments, but like I said quite a few times on the stream, like I think it's going to be a decent Evans week this week. And Monty, he's the guy right now, and he might remain the guy technically. But Jahmyr Gibbs, again, coming back to like what we said about Bijan, we could say the same thing about Gibbs. You couldn't have watched that game and said, yeah, they're never going to give Gibbs touches. Like the dude was ripping off 8, 10, 15-yard runs almost every time he touched the ball. Like, yes, Monty is good for what he is, right? Like, get you positive yardage near the goal line. But you can't have a guy who's a threat to hit a home run every time he touches the ball, not getting the ball. So Gibbs is going to start getting the ball more. It's going to get closer to a 50-50, which will hurt Monty's value. So I think you're selling high on these guys for a stud. I mean, Adams is still a stud, right? He still was like a second-round pick pretty much everywhere. So I like this trade.
Yeah, well, it doesn't hurt. Not that I think it's long-term, but, Jacoby Myers might not play next week. He's in concussion protocol. Nowadays, it's not just a week. Sometimes it takes 2. Not too long ago, concussion protocol was like, hey, you good? You good? Okay. Yeah, he's cleared. 2 days and he's back. Now they actually do the protocol, I think. And so it's usually minimum a week and 2 weeks or longer. But anyways, Davante Adams was still targeted. He will be targeted a lot. He'll be fine. It won't be numbers like last year. But, I would rather have Davante than those two for sure. And then how about this? It's cryptic. Speaking of tonight, I've been down on James Cook for this week because of the Jets matchup. What do you think is a realistic finish? I'm assuming he's talking about tonight.
Yeah, I would say in half PPR, probably 8 to 9 points if he doesn't score a touchdown.
Yep, I agree. Don't really expect too much, which is why I'm keeping him on my bench. I think this is a firm yes. You can drop Deion Jackson.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Talk about bad.
You know who the big winner of week 1 was? Jonathan Taylor. Mm-hmm. Because all these running backs that Jim Irsay thinks are just fine were not just fine. They were horrible. Deion Jackson, oh my gosh, horrible. Like, if I'm Jonathan Taylor today, I'm having my agent call up Jim Irsay and be like, hey, you want to reopen negotiations? Because your rookie quarterback might need a running back that can help take some pressure off him so he doesn't blow out his knee before, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, Jonathan Taylor, big real life winner, I think, from week 1.
Yeah, if I'm Jonathan Taylor, I'm calling up Jim Irsay and just laughing.
Exactly.
Just laugh is like, yeah, call me when you need me. Exactly. Deion Jackson, not just his rushing average was like 1 yard per carry, but he fumbled it twice. And I saw him fumble the ball loose twice and did nothing. And then Evan Hull is now hurt, so he's not even an option. He'll be out, I think, a few weeks, possibly. So, yeah, you can definitely drop Deion Jackson, which is why I mentioned you should be picking up Zach Moss if you need a running back. Like, you don't have to pick him up because he might be terrible too. Yeah, and then I don't even want to answer this.
I mean, yeah, you should be panicked on Daniel Jones because Daniel Jones is not as good as people like. This is what I like. Like, Daniel Jones was a terrible quarterback for his entire career. Terrible. And then Brian Daboll comes and he's like, okay. He's an okay quarterback. He didn't light it up through the air, but Brian Daboll had him run a lot. And now everybody's like, Daniel Jones. Like, nah, I think Daniel Jones is still a terrible quarterback. I'd be panicked on Daniel Jones. If I had Daniel Jones, I'd be panicked because I'd be like, why do I have Daniel Jones on my team? That's why I'd be panicking. But look, you can drop him and pick up somebody else. Pick up Jordan Love, honestly.
You really shouldn't panic on Daniel Jones because you should never have had him on your fantasy team or even thought or to expect anything from him. And I said this all off season. Like, why are people even drafting Daniel Jones? Honestly, it was a legit question. Like, I don't get it. He averaged 200 passing yards per game last year. Yeah. Okay, well, he can run. Okay, how much is he really running? Is he running like Lamar Jackson? Really? Is that what we're like perceiving from him? Let me look. I just have to put this like to bed. So last year he ran for 7 touchdowns, which people like, right? The touchdowns, 700 yards. Does that make up for the passing? Does that make him like a top 10 quarterback? No, it doesn't. It's not good enough. And once the turnovers start coming, you see what happens.
Yeah.
The bad Daniel Jones is worse than any quarterback in the league.
Yeah, man, bad Daniel Jones will lose you your week. Did he get he had to have had a negative game last night, right? He had to have a negative fantasy points.
He'd had to have. I mean, unless your league doesn't penalize for interceptions, I don't know.
Right. Well,
anyways, all right, let's go to Ramu. Welcome back, Ramu. I make stupid trades. Works for me. Okay.
All right. Whatever works.
Sometimes they work out. Let's see. A 10-team full PPR. Got Lamar, got Ramondre and Bijan. Nice. JJ, Waddle, and Aiyuk and Watson. In Dallas. Well, you have Dallas defense. You probably won.
You got Aiyuk and Dallas defense. You probably won just with those two guys.
Yeah, no kidding. Opinion on giving Algier, Sutton, Cousins, and Bigsby for Pollard and Cup.
I think you have to do this. Do this. I mean, Tony Pollard looked great last night. He looks like he has every potential to be a top 5 or better running back this year. Gotta think Cup at some point will get on the field again. You're giving the Algier, but I mean, come on. We're not expecting Algier to do this all year. Look, I talked about Sutton too. I said I like Sutton this week. It's the Raiders, no Jerry Jeudy, but it's not the Raiders this week, and Jerry Jeudy might be back. So, you're never going to play Cousins, of course. Bigsby just a handcuff right now. Yeah, I think you have to do this. I think you have to.
Like I said, this is a slam dunk. I mean, Bigsby is just depth at this point. Algier, yeah, but you're not going to start him in a 10-team league when you have Bijan and Ramondre. Anyways, you're getting Pollard basically in exchange for 2 bench running backs. Sutton scored a touchdown, but other than that, look, the Denver offense, I think I saw what I needed to see. That Russ is just not it anymore. No. He had the 3rd lowest average depth of target. He was just dinking and dunking. He doesn't throw the ball down the field anymore. I don't think it's going to change just because Jeudy comes back. I mean, he's just going to play it safe. He's more worried about not turning it over than anything else. So I can part with Sutton easily on this team. I mean, this is like a steal for you if you're getting Pollard and Cup. We kind of mentioned this real quick, but how do you think Dalvin will do tonight? Marco Pelletieri. Good, not great, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I think he'll do okay. I mean, yeah, he'll do okay. Maybe he'll score.
I think 80-ish total yards is about right. Has a chance for a touchdown.
Yeah.
So
maybe catch a couple passes. He'll do all right.
Right. Okay. And then here's a fair question. Never had it so good. How much fab for Puka?
Not a lot. I talked about this in the early part. Like, look, if Cup had a season ender, if they're like, hey, we're putting Cup on season-ending IR, his season's over, I might be willing to drop a decent amount on Puka. But the problem for Puka with Cup is that when Cup comes back, that's Puka's role right now. Puka is playing the Cup role. That's why Matthew Stafford targeted him relentlessly. Because, look, I will say this about Matthew Stafford. I was impressed. His arm looked way better than it did last year. He looks like he's fully healthy again, which should make you feel good about Cup if he can get back on the field. But that being said, Puka was in that kind of like Cup role, right? You had Van Jefferson in the X, Tutu Atwell playing like the deep guy, Puka playing that, Cup role. Well, what happens when Cup comes back? You think they're going to roll with Puka or Cooper Kupp in that role? I'm going to go with Cup. I don't know why, but I'm going to go with Cup. And that's going to make Puka, I don't know what his role is going to be. So, look, if you're desperate right now, you're hurting a wide receiver, he looks like he's going to be a good start for at least the next 3 weeks and maybe more if Kupp's not back. But I wouldn't go crazy because, again, if Kupp comes back even week 6, let's say he comes back week 6 and is healthy the rest of the year, and you blew 30% of your fab on a guy that you only had until week 5, that's not good. That's not good. I know it's easy to look, right now, right? Everybody looks right now. He'll help me right now. but you're going to regret it down the road when you're fighting for a playoff spot or you're in the playoffs and you don't have any fab left. You're going to regret it. So I wouldn't go too crazy for Puka.
That, I mean, obviously don't spend too much fab too early, but also, I mean, you can't overlook this factor, like the element of surprise. Basically, what did we expect? Van Jefferson, Tyler Higbee, they would be the ones to get the targets.
Yeah.
What do we think Seattle was really preparing for in the game plan? Do you think they were preparing for some Van Jefferson, some Higbee, a lot of run game? Or do you think they were planning for the 5th-round rookie out of BYU who they had never really seen before playing to get, 15 targets?
Right.
That's part of what the Rams do is they try to catch you off guard, right? That's just McVay's thing. And it worked. Like they did not expect them to pound Puka with targets, and they did. So at some point that's going to change, right? So Puka, I think, might be a classic scoop now. Don't spend too much fab. And if he goes off again, sell high. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, but for sure. Always the best when you get him
wait for week 2 before we
trade him.
Saying that, I guess. All right, and then we got Rise. What's up, Rise? Ridley was huge. He sure was. And Bijan, T. Higgs 0, but you still won. Well, that's
good. That's always good when you win with the 0, because then you got to feel really good. Like, okay, because I mean, come on.
You definitely can't worry about Higgins, but also he did get targeted. It's not like he's hurt. There's no reason.
I mean, Burrow was just terrible. And like, there are some players you should probably be panicking on right now, but none of them are on the Bengals.
All right, so I put this one from A.
What's up, A?
Long-time listener, first-time poster. Well, thanks, and we appreciate the super chat. Got Tua, nice. Jefferson, even better. Garrett Wilson, Etienne, Connor, Kenneth Walker, Hawkinson, Kamara, Warren, Bigsby, Collins, Judy Murray on the IR. Suggestions: it's a 12-team, half PPR.
I mean, this is a pretty good team. I mean, we'll see what Wilson does tonight. Hopefully the weather cooperates so we can see a good Wilson game. But I mean, you got Jefferson and Wilson, Etienne and Connor, Kenneth Walker. You got a solid tight end. You got some good pieces on the bench. Look, Nico Collins. We talked about him quite a bit this offseason. We probably didn't talk about him as much as we should have, but we did talk about him quite a bit. He looked good. He looked good in that game. And even Judy, I think, like Judy as a wide receiver 3 will be serviceable. So, yeah, I don't really have any suggestions for you. This is a good team.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't think you can improve this team much. And, I'm not big on Kamara, but whatever. You can't really trade him now because he has no value right now. He's not playing. So you're good. I think this is really good.
I would definitely, when Kamara's coming back off of suspension, I would definitely be selling high on Kamara.
Yes.
Especially for your team. I would definitely be selling high on Kamara.
Yeah, because you're really not going to need to play him, I don't think, ever. You shouldn't with those 3 running backs. You're good. And Nico, it was really nice to see. I trying not to talk him up too much. Like, I don't want to jinx it. But he's one of our late round sleepers that so far looks like he's paying off. I mean, don't know if the Texans are going to throw that much every game, but it's nice to see that they let Stroud throw the ball that much. That was encouraging because you just didn't know. Let's go with Max Prestige. What percentage of the fab should go to Puka? It's kind of like what we had before.
Yeah. So again, I would say I don't think I would go over 10%. Okay, you say Kupp, Watson out. What if Watson plays this week? What if Kupp is back week 5? And you know what I mean? And then Puka really only gave you, because look, you already didn't. I'm just going obviously you didn't play in week 1 because he's on your waiver wire. So now you're only getting week 2, 3, and 4 from Puka if Kupp is back week 5.
Mm-hmm.
That's not worth a lot of fab. 3 games, and let's not forget, like Pierre just said, he's a rookie wide receiver. And I think they play. They have a pretty tough matchup this week, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that. I was just looking at it now. I don't remember. I got it right.
The Niners.
Yeah, the Niners. So if he goes out there this week against the Niners, and the Niners say okay, let's take away Puka. Now you don't even get that game from him. Like, this isn't, you know what I mean? This isn't like last year, like I said, with Rachaad Penny and Kenneth Walker, where Rachaad Penny gets a season-ending injury, and we know Kenneth Walker is going to be the guy.
Right.
This is a rookie wide receiver, came out of nowhere, could just as easily do nothing this week. Don't go crazy like blowing your fab on Puka.
Yeah, I agree. 10% max. And
Yeah,
if
max.
you do pick them up, and it always depends. Like, how aggressive are the other owners in your league, especially early. There's always that one guy usually who wants to get every guy, that big name free agent after week one, and he'll, spend half his fab or all of it just to get those guys early. Okay, fine. Let him have it. Right.
Yes.
If he's going to spend, $25 just to get Puka, okay, go for it. It's not a huge loss for you. Yeah. This isn't guy I really think is going to be like, league winner. I don't.
No.
Make a bid, but don't go crazy. What about Algier? Not a fab question. Do you think you have to start him this week?
I think you have to start him this week. Definitely. I mean, if he's going to get even, that many touches, yeah, you got to start him. We know this offense is just so running back friendly. So, yeah, I think Algier, he's definitely in that RB2 conversation. I mean, can't bank on 2 touchdowns again, but in this offense, he can definitely get it done. So, yeah, I think you have to start him.
Yeah, because, again, eventually, I'm saying by midseason, you won't be able to be starting Algier. I think he's going to get limited more like 10 to 12 touches a game. Bijan will clearly be the lead. Same thing, Gibbs. But for now, it's pretty obvious he's going to use them enough. And, I don't feel too bad about, the way that they'll operate in week 2. Playing the Packers should be fine. All right, now, we didn't really get talk too much tonight about this. It's just so depressing. Poor J.K. Dobbins. So Lisa lost Dobbins. I now realize how much Dobbins I have after going through my leagues and seeing that, because I was big on him, of course. So the risk was there. Oh, well. So here are the choices out of these guys: Josh Kelly, Kenneth Gainwell, Gus Edwards. Which one?
I mean, I think right now it's got to be Gainwell. I don't expect Gainwell to be the workhorse running back for the Eagles all year. That's not really what he's built for. I know Kelly got a lot of run, and I did see just now Brandon Staley said Eckler is dealing with an ankle. So definitely keep an eye on that, because Kelly would become very intriguing if Eckler were to miss any games. And look, I'm just not touching that Ravens backfield now. Like, I don't think one guy is gonna pull away. Like, Gus to me is, I know this is you're not gonna like this, but Gus to me is nothing special. He's fine. Justice Hill has a little more like burst and speed, but I don't see Justice Hill becoming the guy. So I think right now it's got to be Gainwell out of those 3.
Well, it was interesting. I think Harbaugh said when they asked, well, are you going to go and sign a running back, which makes sense. Kareem Hunt's still out there. He didn't sign probably because he was waiting for something like this to happen. And here it is. But he kind of squashed that and said, no, I like the guys we have here. Now, that doesn't mean they won't do it, right? Because he's not the one who's paying, signing the paychecks and making those moves, but makes it sound like they're not. Makes it sound like, getting Melvin Gordon in the preseason was it. That was the move. Okay, so if that's the case, we'll see Edwards, we'll see Hill, we'll see Melvin Gordon. So it's a committee of guys. And here's the thing with Edwards, he's been good at times, but that was a while ago. And, these guys, both Hill and Edwards, they've been there, 3-4 years?
Yeah.
I mean, what's going to change now, right? What's going to change now? Edwards is the short yardage guy. He's got some good burst, but he's never going to catch passes. Hill, kind of the opposite. So unless Justice Hill just out of nowhere comes out and becomes a stud, this year, which I doubt, I would say probably wait. Gainwell is the smart move here, because unless Eckler's hurt, I don't know that Kelly's going to put up that many more performances like that. Because again, I feel like they're keeping him fresh as they can, for later in the season.
for the playoffs that they won't
And
make because they find ways to lose games that they should absolutely win.
Well, yeah, not assuming that they'll actually make the playoffs. The Chargers, I don't know. Losing Dobbins is a big in a 16-team league, that's even bigger. Got a Shane Warren on the bench, but you can't really start those guys right now. Waiver options are Kelly or Kyron Williams.
I think it's got to be Kyron Williams. He looked like at least half of the guy, if not more of the guy, than Cam Akers yesterday. And I liked Cam Akers this year, but man, he looked bad yesterday. What was like 1.3 yards per carry yesterday? Like, I mean, maybe Achilles just really is a kiss of death. I don't know, but I think it's got to be Kyron Williams. He looks like Kelly's not going to have a big role unless Eckler is out. He's just not. So I think it's got to be Kyron between these two.
It does have to be Kyron Williams. Sean McVay can be fickle. Sometimes he'll switch allegiances. If Kyron's his guy now, he'll go with him. He will catch passes. That's what's good. He does bring some of a floor, and he was using in the goal line situations. That's the most encouraging.
Yeah,
he was there. He got those touchdowns because they gave him the ball when they were in the money zone. So if that continues, he definitely has value. And the Rams offense definitely looked better than I expected. That's for sure. Now this one can be answered. Don Juan, what's up with London? Well, you know what? Check the panic video because I'm pretty sure that Drake London is the poster boy for that one.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yes, so he is.
Check that video out. Not just London, but all the people that kind of let you down in week 1. All right. Now let's see. Would I drop Danny Dimes? This is Angel Vox 1. Okay, but I put this up. Obviously, you're dropping Danny Dimes. But who do you prefer here, Jordan Love or Mac Jones, who put up numbers against Philly?
I definitely prefer Jordan Love. Packers, I mean, at least, especially this week, Packers get the Falcons. Patriots do get the Dolphins, but I don't. One thing about the Patriots is that defense we saw yesterday. That defense is really good. They have a case for being the best defense in the NFL. So I don't see, Mac Jones getting into a lot of games where he has to throw the ball a lot. Even against Miami. Jordan Love looked good, and he's got weapons. I mean, obviously having Aaron Jones healthy would help, but he's got weapons. Hopefully he'll get Christian Watson back. I just can't do it with Mac Jones. I don't know what it is. I just can't. Give me Jordan Love.
Yeah, I'm taking Jordan Love. The matchup is better next week. Yeah, I just believe in him a little bit more, but also you have to realize Jones, it was a case where it's not like they weren't getting blown out, but they were in come from behind mode because they were 16-0, I think, in the first half. Like they did nothing in the first half, and so finally it clicked. So they were in pass mode, and he did rack up numbers. I'll give him credit. He did a fair job of keeping them in the game, but I don't know that that's going to happen on a regular basis. So I'm going Jordan Love. Ooh, interesting. Almost ace. Would you trade Mixon for Ramondre?
Yeah, give me Ramondre. I mean, yeah. I just didn't have big expectations for Mixon this year anyways. He was like maybe the one Bengal who didn't completely bust yesterday, but he wasn't very good. Ramondre, it felt like, didn't do anything, and he still had like 15 PPR points. So give me Ramondre.
Yeah, I'm still going Ramondre, and not much has changed. Neither guy did anything special, especially good or especially bad yesterday. So Ramondre, though, catching a ton of passes, that's what you want to see. He'll be more involved, like I just mentioned, if New England isn't in quite as negative of a game script. So, yeah, I'm taking Ramondre for sure. Aditi, I want to know if you panic on Fields because, I mean, the passing numbers were pretty ugly for the Bears.
They were pretty ugly, but I mean, we did talk about this. The Packers have a good secondary. They do. They have a good secondary. So I'm not panicking on Fields. He still looked great running the ball. Yeah, passing numbers weren't great. The Packers obviously did a good job shutting down DJ Moore. I even saw the interview with Jair Alexander after the game, and he said, yeah, he didn't do much, did he? Like, obviously they put a focus on DJ Moore in that game. not ready. Remember, Justin Fields was a QB 32 after 5 games last year. How'd that turn out? Not panicking on him.
The good thing was, and he didn't break that long touchdown run. He didn't have, well,
Right.
I saw something that said that they didn't even have a single designed run, called for him, which sounds pretty stupid. Maybe that'll change. Hopefully that changes. But even besides that, yeah, the Packers have a pretty good defense, especially the pass defense. Alexander took him out. Just hope they adjust and figure things out. But no, you can't panic on Fields because even if he has a bad passing game, he could just make up for it with a run. So,
right.
No. Chrono with a question. Until Cup returns, would you rather ride with Sutton or Addison?
Definitely Addison. I don't expect Addison, to be great every week right now. But he was out there, almost 70% of the snaps. He got involved. And this is what I was talking about with why I liked Addison so much. On that touchdown, what happened? Justin Jefferson ran. I think he might have ran like a little underneath route. And the safety, of course, said, "Oh my gosh, Justin Jefferson." And Jordan Addison just ran right past the safety for a wide open touchdown. That's what's going to happen because teams aren't going to be like, "Where's Jordan Addison at? Make sure Jordan Addison doesn't get open." No, they're so focused on Justin Jefferson that Addison is going to have these chances all the time where he's just wide open because, hey, they're just so focused on Justin Jefferson. So, look, Sutton, yeah, he had a good matchup with the Raiders. He scored a touchdown, but Russ didn't look fantastic. I mean, he didn't look terrible. He didn't go out there and throw like 3 interceptions, but like you said, he just looked like a scared kitten, just taking the easiest possible throw, no tough throws.
Yes.
Just, not making mistakes. That's not a recipe for fantasy goodness. So give me Addison.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Not overreacting to one game and saying, "Oh, that's it, he's done," but it just didn't look that different from last year. Russell Wilson is going to be fine from a real life perspective. He'll be okay. I think he's just a game manager now. That's basically what he's turned into. He doesn't run that much unless he has to. He's just not taking shots down the field. Remember with Seattle, that was the thing, right? He would chuck it down the field all the time, make those big plays. That is gone now. He just doesn't do that. And so, yeah, I just don't think the upside with Sutton is going to be there. Give me Addison. This is interesting from Todd Timon. Was offered Gibbs for JT.
This is interesting. Because we did get that report yesterday from Schefter yesterday morning that JT was expected to pass his physical that day. I didn't see the follow-up if he actually did. I assume he did. And they're expecting him to come off of PUP as soon as he's eligible and be ready to play week 5. Now, that doesn't mean he will play. It doesn't mean he'll still be a Colt. He could still be traded. He could still say, F you, Jim Irsay, I don't want to play for you. I don't think he will, but he could. Jim Irsay could say, "F you, Jonathan Taylor. I'd rather watch Deion Jackson fumble twice than give you the ball," because that's just how Jim Irsay is.
You definitely could.
So, but I mean, look, if let's be real, if JT was out there week 1, no one was drafting Gibbs over JT. No one. A healthy JT, I'm taking a healthy JT over a healthy Gibbs. So,
I mean, I wouldn't say I think that, assuming they're both playing, week 5 on, I'm not going to say I would put Gibbs over JT. So
no. But I think the doubt here is, what if JT is not playing week 5 on?
Yeah. Anyway, there's it's the risk, right? It's just taking that risk.
I think I would do it. Assuming, okay, here's what it comes down to, I guess. Like, if you trade away Gibbs, or I guess you have JT. He
said he was offered Gibbs, so he would be getting Gibbs, JT. Giving up JT.
So if your other running backs are, look really bad now, like you drafted, Cam Akers and J.K. Dobbins.
J.K. Dobbins.
And now you're like, I might not have any running backs. then you might have to part with JT here because you can't run the risk that A, you could stay afloat for the next 4 weeks without JT, and B, that he's back instantly week 5 playing football again.
Right.
But if you're good at running back, like maybe you drafted good running backs, you drafted running backs early, maybe you have a hero RB, like you got a CMC, an Eckler, a Bijan, a Pollard, even a Chubb or Henry, somebody like that, then I think I probably just hold JT. So that's what it comes down to for me.
Yeah, it depends on a lot of factors with your roster. Right now, with all the unknowns, I think I might take Gibbs, get that guy who could be a stud down the stretch. It's just so many variables, so many unknowns with JT. All right, we do have a super chat from Bomber Boy 68S. Do you think Tua keeps it up?
I mean, okay, obviously not. He would what would he would end up with like 10,000 passing yards and whatever. Like he would set records that would never be touched. Obviously, he's not going to do what he did in week 1 for 17 straight games. But he's going to have plenty of big games because he's got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And I'm not taking anything away from Tua. Tua made some fantastic throws. But it helps when you have guys like if he was throwing to Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, I don't think Tua puts up the game.
That's not a fair comparison. Anybody throwing to Kadarius Toney is going to tank there.
But you know what I mean? So obviously he's going to have plenty more big games like that because of the weapons around him. But he's also going to have, like we saw this last year too. Remember last year, week 1, they fell way behind. And then in the second half, they just went nuts. And he had didn't he have was it week 1 or week 2? I forget. He had these huge games. And then he kind of cooled off and came back down to earth a little bit because it's the NFL and the defense gets paid a lot of money too. And they're usually really good. You know what I mean? So does he keep this up? No, but I think Tua will be great this year.
You know what I think, but also, I mean, look, it's encouraging. We just talked about how these offenses, and especially some of these stud quarterbacks, struggled in week 1 because the offenses weren't sharp. That offense looked pretty sharp. I mean, I get that the Chargers defense always underachieves, but they're not the least talented defense out there. I mean, they have some good players, just maybe not coached up well. But yeah, they were just, I mean, he was dropping dimes. And I mean, he's got 2 of the best receivers, maybe the best receiver duo in the league, at least one of them. So that's not going away. Like if that changes, sure, but that could change for anybody. So yeah, I think solid top 10 quarterback.
Oh yeah,
no doubt. I mean, the main thing that happened last year is the concussion. I mean, after that, obviously everything changed, but he'll be fine. It's not Tuesday, but we got Taco. Full PPR, trade London for Pickens.
I don't even know. My gosh, how bad did this is a lesson in preseason hype. The Steelers offense in preseason, oh my gosh, they're going to be totally different. They look great. They're going to be I know they still have Matt Canada there, who's an awful offensive coordinator, but look at what he's doing in the preseason. And then the regular season rolls around and it's the same old terrible Steelers offense. I guess. I don't even know. I honestly don't even this doesn't. I don't even feel like. Are you winning this trade? Are you losing this trade? Are you both losing this trade? Is there no winners? I really don't have a strong opinion about this, to be honest. If you want Pickens, get Pickens, I guess. But yeah, all that preseason hype about the Steelers offense went way out the window week 1, and it doesn't get any better this week. They are now playing the Browns, who have just made Joe Burrow look terrible, have a ferocious pass rush. It's not going to get any better this week for the passing attack, at least.
Yeah, I think the one game that will be most telling in week 2 is that Browns-Steelers matchup. Is the Browns defense legit, or does the Steelers offense bounce back and see what happens there? Because the Steelers offense can't be that bad. I mean, I know the Niners have a really good defense, but yeah, they were just, I don't know, buying into their own hype. I don't know what was going on there. I don't know that the Cleveland defense is that good either. I think a lot of it was just Joe Burrow being off and being rusty and all that. Maybe a little bit the weather. It'll be interesting, but I don't feel like this is a win. I mean, you're basically, I'm buying low on Pickens, but you're selling low on London. So you're really just trading two guys who underachieved in week one. I don't think I'm keeping London for now, unless it's a clear upgrade, which it's not. So yeah, I would just keep London. And then we got Marcel Harms, PPR trade, Jacobs and Garrett Wilson for Bijan and Pollard.
Ooh. This is studs.
That's a blockbuster.
I think I got it. I mean, look, we haven't seen Garrett Wilson yet, but I mean, whatever. Like, I mean, the way this week goes, who knows? Maybe Garrett Wilson will get like no targets. Like Alan Lazard will get 8 targets. The way this week is gone. I think I got to go the Bijan Pollard side, though. I'm not worried about Jacobs. I know Jacobs did not have a good game, but the usage was there. He got 19 carries. He got 3 targets. He got pretty much the same usage he got last year. He looked good. Like, even against a tough Denver defense, he was breaking tackles, picking up yards he shouldn't have been picking up. He looked good. It's just he didn't score any touchdowns, didn't have a big run. It'll Jacobs, I think, will be okay. And I do really like Garrett Wilson, but I talked a lot this offseason about Pollard. I thought he had top 1 potential at the RB position. Last night didn't change my mind on that. He looked great. And you know how I feel about Bijan, and I don't like the Tyler Algier usage did not change my mind on Bijan at all. I think he's still going to smash. So I think I go with the 2 running backs here.
I'm going with the 2 running backs. You can get 2 legit RB1. Jacobs should still be an RB1. I mean, I know it was a tough matchup against Denver. He didn't do much yesterday, but yeah, I will take Bijan and Pollard. That's
you could potentially have like the 2 best running backs in fantasy.
just a huge advantage there. Yeah,
huge.
Josue Hidalgo, is Evans a sell high?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. And it's not just because I was talking down the Bucs offense all offseason. Because I said this week a few times when we got questions like, hey, I like Evans this week. I think it's going to be a good game for Evans again in this matchup. We just probably saw the best Baker Mayfield we're going to see all year. Like, remember he did this? Remember last year when Stafford got hurt and they signed him and he went out there and beat Aaron Rodgers on Monday Night Football, that comeback, and everybody was like, Sean McVay is going to save Baker Mayfield, and then he was awful the rest of the year. This is just what he does. He's one of these, like, remember as a rookie when he got to take over the starting job, how great he was? He's one of these guys who, like, this is just what he does. And then he becomes himself again. It's like he comes out there for like one game, looks great. Like, yeah, we found our answer. And then he turns into Baker Mayfield again. Not banking on that again. It was a great matchup for Evans against his Vikings secondary. He did fine. He scored the touchdown. He didn't have like some massive game, right? Like, didn't have like an Aiyuk game or anything like that. He was fine. So yes, if I could sell Evans, I definitely would be.
I'm selling Evans. And like you said, they're not going to play the Vikings every week. That was a really good matchup. And it just still didn't do great. I mean, good. Not taken away from him, but it wasn't amazing.
Right.
But yeah, like you said, eventually true colors come out. So who would you target then instead? If you're selling Evans, who would you try to get instead? I guess let's assume a receiver.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you. I mean, I don't want to spoil the video that's coming out after the game tonight, but I actually looked at, so there's a site, Fantasy Calc, that actually has like thousands and thousands of real fantasy leagues, and they can actually see real-time trades. And I went on there and looked at some trades, and I was surprised how many people are trading good running backs for Mike Evans right now.
Really?
So you might want to watch the video tonight because you might get some good ideas, especially if you need running backs, because whatever happened in week 1 must happen the rest of the season. That's how a lot of people think.
Yeah, I'm like not really surprised anymore, but it is surprising. Like, what? Like the things that some people do. I mean, so we're trying to, just kind of be that voice of reason, or 2 voices of reason, I guess. I mean, Though you can't overreact too much. I mean, at some point, yeah, you have to take the most current information. You can't stay stuck with what you thought last week, last month, whatever. But you also can't just completely shut out what, based on, oh, this happened this week. I
Right.
guarantee there'll be some teams that looked absolutely terrible in week 1 that are going to come back and win by double digits in week 2 because they're mad that they lost their first game of the season. They're going to come back, and then vice versa. Teams are like, oh man, it looks so great. And then they're going to let you down. It's going to happen. I guarantee there will be at least 3 or 4 upsets again this week because that's how the NFL is. Which this is a good thick fingers back. Saved me from playing Jamal Williams and keeping Brian Robinson. Not that he had a huge game. I mean, again, expected Arizona's defense to be worse, but still, yeah, Jamal Williams.
Okay, Jamal Williams, I saw the stats today, played almost every snap. I think he got all but one running back carry. He ran a route on like a huge number of Derek Carr dropbacks, and he had 52 yards. Jamal Williams look, I'm just going to be real. If you got Jamal Williams last year, you got lucky that he scored 17 touchdowns, 16 of which were from the 1 yard line. Jamal Williams is an awesome dude. I would love to spend a day with Jamal Williams. Awesome dude. Not an awesome running back. He's like just he's a body. He's a body at running back. It's just it. So yeah, I mean, yeah.
Matchup matters, but again, you can't look at matchup and say, "Oh, the Rams put up 30 points last week. They're going to kill who?" No, they're probably not.
They're probably going to lose this week.
They are probably going to lose this week. I'm not guaranteeing it. I'm not picking on that one team in particular. I'm just saying what happened last week might not happen this week. So you always have to take everything into consideration. All right. So on that note, the intern of war, also talking about Brian Robinson. Rachaad White did not look good in Tampa.
Nope.
Did you sit him this week, roll with Brian Robinson and Gibbs?
I mean, I definitely roll with Gibbs because we're already hearing like one thing I think we've learned from Dan Campbell so far is Dan Campbell does not use coach speak. Yeah. Like some coaches out there, right? Like they say, like, oh, like, yeah, with this, and then it's totally different. Dan Campbell is not one of those guys. Last year, he basically said, without saying it, DeAndre Swift can't handle any touches. And DeAndre Swift didn't get a lot of touches. Before week 1, he said, yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs not going to get a lot of playing time. And Jahmyr Gibbs did not get a lot of playing time. This week, he has said things like, yeah, he's definitely going to be used more. Yeah, he's going to get more playing time. He looked good. We liked what we saw. He's going to get more playing time. That means he's going to get more playing time because it's Dan Campbell, and I believe every word he says. So I'm definitely rolling with Gibbs this week. I will say Brian Robinson and Rachaad White is close because Brian Robinson didn't look very good either against that Cardinals defense. He saved his day, and he wasn't involved in the passing game as much as we'd hoped either. He caught a touchdown, but that was his only catch. But Rachaad White really wasn't involved in the passing game as much as I thought either, especially Baker Mayfield, 32 attempts and only 2 catches. That was disappointing. That was disappointing. So the Bucs get the Bears. The Commanders get the Broncos. I don't really want to start Brian Robinson against the Broncos.
Yeah.
As I mean, look, maybe Brian Robinson scores again, but he didn't really do a whole lot outside of that. I think I got to give White the slight edge just because of the matchup, but I'm not as nearly as excited about White this week as I was last week. I'll tell you that.
No, because he did have a good matchup against the Vikings too. And yeah, the running game just wasn't that good. But yeah, the matchup is what matters. Like you said, just talk about Jacobs going against that Broncos defense, averaged 2.5 yards per carry. Yeah. I mean, that defense is legit. They are good. And they should be even better now that their offense isn't as bad, I guess is all I can say. Just not as ineffective. So yeah, I really don't want to start Brian Robinson against Denver at Denver. I'll go with Rachaad White again. Just hope he's more involved or more efficient. So definitely go Gibbs, and I would keep White in there. Mary Jo, another Dobbins owner. I feel your pain. Have White and Swift on the bench. Bijan is the number 1. Okay, so Pick up Algier, pick up Gainwell.
I think it has to be Algier. I mean, if nothing else, even if Bijan eventually pulls away, like we believe he will, at least you have his handcuff. And look, there's some guys where people are like, well, I have so-and-so's handcuff. And then when so-and-so gets hurt, we realize he doesn't have a handcuff. It's like two guys splitting the carries. We know if Bijan goes down, Algier is going to be the guy. Like maybe they'll activate Cordero Patterson if Bijan gets hurt, and Patterson will be kind of maybe barely involved. But Algier will pretty much be the guy. And right now, Algier has plenty of value, so I think it has to be Algier between those two.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to pick up Algier just because he's the strongest pickup right now, but also you have Bijan. That doesn't hurt. I mean, I don't know. Would you be willing to start both Bijan and Algier, your RB1 and RB2, rather than like White?
After what we saw last week, and going against the Packers, who traditionally have not been a great run defense, and I don't even know if matchup matters that much for the Falcons because this running scheme is just so good. It's just so good. I think, I'd be fine starting both.
Well, one thing like matchup be damned, and nothing else really seemed to game script. Like nothing matters. Arthur Smith does not care. He will run the ball. They will definitely stay committed to the run.
Yes.
So they're definitely going to keep running the ball. I think Algier is the pickup. If you could pick up Gainwell too, that would be nice. But can't roll out Swift just yet. He will get more touches than last week, but I don't want to start him. White, I don't know. It would be tough for me not to try White instead of Algier. But if you want to go all in Falcons, that's fine. I was going to mention this too, and Donald, clearly a Bears fan, thinks that White will kill the Bears because, Aaron Jones looked pretty good against the Bears, but
AJ Dillon did not.
AJ Dillon did. He got stuffed.
Yeah, AJ Dillon did not look great against the Bears. And my real worry here is I saw a stat that Rachaad White had negative 38 rushing yards over expectation.
That is.
But here's what's also concerning. Sean Tucker, who I think only got 3 carries. How many carries did Sean Tucker get? 6?
I think 5.
5? He was at negative 5. So it wasn't like Rachaad White, it was just bad and Sean Tucker was great. It's just this offensive line, this run blocking is horrible in Tampa Bay. It's horrible.
It's weird because it feels like it's been like that for years. Even when Tom Brady was there, like they just couldn't run the ball. Like all last year, Fournette was, very ineffective runner. And Fournette's dust. Well, Rachaad White's there now. It's not much better. It feels like it's been a while since they actually could run the ball efficiently. Like all the running back points are out of the passing game. Well, anyways, all right, let's move on.
I hope he kills your Bears. I mean, I'll feel bad for your Bears, but I'll be happy about Rachaad White.
Yeah, don't matter to me. If I have Rachaad White, I hope he slays. All right, Sidekick Kid, keep Deontay Johnson or Cortland Sutton. I guess we're gonna drop one.
I have not heard an update on Deontay Johnson. Have you?
Not today, like a new update. I know it's a hamstring. I know some of the Twitter doctors and, thinking that it sounds like him likely to miss a week, maybe 2. Wouldn't be surprised because it is a hamstring injury. So he could be out, but not long term, like nothing serious. But I don't know. I'd rather keep him over Sutton.
Yeah, if it's not, because it looked bad. It looked bad in the sense that he grabbed it and he was in a lot of pain, and they ruled him out really quick. And usually when a guy gets ruled out really quick, that's bad. That's bad news. That means they know, okay, there's no chance he can even come into this game. Not even an option. But if it's only going to be a couple weeks, give me Deontay Johnson for sure. I think the only way I would pick Sutton over Deontay Johnson is if Deontay Johnson was going to miss 6 to 8 weeks or something crazy like that. So give me Deontay Johnson here.
If that's the case, then you just drop him too, and then you pick up somebody else. I just see a hamstring. It's too early in the week. I don't think they'll give us an official report. I don't see anything new. I'm not dropping him just yet. So, and you're not going to really miss Sutton. So here's the question then. Who do you pick up? Is it Puka? Is it Dobbs? Or is it Myers?
I think for me, it's Myers, actually. I know a lot of people are going to say Dobbs because he had 2 touchdowns. But we see this all the time. Guy barely catches any passes. What do you have, like 5 catches, I think? Which is fine. Like but 2 of them happen to be touchdowns. And suddenly everybody's like, oh, Dobbs. Like, I want the guy getting targets who looks like the clear number 2. Like, remember, it was Dobbs and Jaden Reed and Luke Musgrave and some other wide receiver I had never heard of. He should have had a bigger target share. Like, he looked healthy. They talked all week. They were saying, like, oh, he's going to be limited. He looked pretty healthy to me. He should have had a bigger target share. Myers had a big target share, like bigger than Davante Adams. Now, I don't expect that to be the norm, but it shows that he's the clear number 2 here. And Jimmy G, I think we talked about this when they signed him, actually, and then kind of like never talked about it again. What Jimmy G is good at and what Jakobi Meyers is good at really work together well. A lot of the routes Jakobi Meyers excels on are routes Jimmy G likes to throw. So I think Jakobi Meyers is going to have some value this year. I'm going Jakobi.
Yeah, Jakobi, I mean, it's hard to say that we could have predicted a good game from him going against that Broncos defense because Davante Adams didn't put up a big game. And he was going to be all over him. But it's not like he's the only thing they got going there in that secondary. So I think it was the target share. The fact that Jimmy G kept going to Myers. We know Myers is good. That's not the question. The question is how much would they pass it? How efficiently would they be able to pass it against Denver? And he kept forcing it to Myers, and Myers made plays. I mean, he looked really good. Better than he did in New England, which shouldn't be surprising because he has a little bit. I mean, Jimmy G's not the best, but he's an upgrade over whatever Myers has been catching passes from in the past. It's just how many targets he got. That was surprising. So, concussion protocol, not fun, but we'll be back. Should be back. I was at first kind of, tilted at Dobbs because they're like, oh, they said he was going to be limited. And look, he's out there catching. But then I looked and he actually was only out there, I think, 42% of the snaps. So he actually was limited because normally he would probably, with this experience, of this wide receiver core, and especially Watson out, he probably would have been out there like 80% of the time or 70%. Yeah. So he technically was limited. It's just like you said, it just so happened he was the one who caught the 2 touchdowns. I like Dobbs. I've liked Dobbs all preseason. I think he's a good bet. But Puka for right now in the short term looks like a better bet. And Myers for the long term looks like the better bet. So it just depends. Do you need to flex one of these guys? Do you want to start one of these guys? I mean, if you drop Sutton and then pick up somebody and Deontay's hurt, you might need to start one of these guys. So if that's the case, I would go Puka. But otherwise, I think Myers should be a solid bet. So let's see. Make sure we don't skip. Let's go to Roberto.
What's up, Roberto?
JT and Cup or Chase and White?
Always bringing the spicy trades. Always spicy here. If all these guys were playing right now, I would say easily JT and Cup. Like, easily. And that has nothing to do with Chase bombing in week 1 because that Bengals this week Joe Burrow will probably throw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns, and all will be fine and all will be right in the world. But it's the fact that Cup and Chase isn't a big drop off, and JT is a big upgrade over Rachaad White. But they're not playing, and we don't know when they're going to be playing. I mean, again, I'm going to say the same thing I said with the other one. It would come down to my team. If my running backs are okay, and my wide receivers are pretty good, And I feel like I can survive without Chase and Rachaad White, which I can probably survive without Rachaad White. Chase is the big question here. But like if I feel like, hey, okay, like let's say you still have good wide receivers and your running backs will be okay if you give up Chase and White, I probably do it because it's one of those. It's one of those trades. Like I'll never forget a couple years ago in our Endgame private league, I had this stacked team, and Calvin Ridley was going through that mental thing before he got suspended for gambling, and I was like, if I can get Calvin Ridley from Pierre, my team will be unbeatable. And I made the move to get Calvin Ridley, and he never played again, and my team got beat. But it was the type of move where if Calvin Ridley came back and finished the season, I probably would have won that championship. I mean, the rest of my team was really good. Sometimes you got to make moves like that. You got to take that. You got to take that chance. Are you trying to win, or are you trying just to make the playoffs and not lose? You know what I mean? So obviously, if Chase, if your wide receivers are going to now be, Cortland Sutton and I don't know, whatever, Nico Collins, even though I like Nico Collins, maybe I don't do it. But if you have good wide receivers and you feel like you can get by, I think it's a gamble worth taking because JT and Kupp could turn your team into an unbeatable team, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that last part, that was it. To this, for me, I'm not even looking at the running backs in this situation because it's not like Rachaad White's going to make or break your team. We liked him for where he was being drafted as low in RB2, but come on, that doesn't matter. Can you get by without Chase for 3, possibly more, right? Possibly more. Yeah. Can you get by without Chase for the next 3 weeks and not start out 0-4, and not that Chase helped you this week because he didn't. So,
right.
If your receivers are good enough that you could live without Chase and possibly without Kupp longer, then I do this. I'd go for it. Billy Harris always bringing the tough questions. Who will be the stud tonight? Assuming the game plays, there's still that weather delay going on. I don't know if it's actually delayed. I haven't been watching because we've been on live. But anyways, assuming all things being equal, who you like?
Well, this is a tough question now. I mean, I would have easily said Garrett Wilson because I feel like we saw with Calvin Ridley, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have like a decent game tonight because, like Derek Carr, his first game with a new team, whatever. Baker Mayfield. But if the weather's really bad, like you can't pick a wide receiver because it's, it'll make it hard, the passing game a lot harder. So then there probably won't be any studs tonight if that's the case because I don't see Dalvin Cook being a stud tonight. So I'll say Garrett Wilson if the weather cooperates. Otherwise, none. No studs.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I honestly haven't lately checked on the weather report there. I know it's bad, but I'm not feeling a high scoring game just in general. And that's not just because of the weather either. It's just the nature of these teams. I feel like the Jets are going to be one of these teams, that kind of drag it out. Good defense, decent, but not explosive offense. Let's just face it. Aaron Rodgers, he's not a quarterback who anymore is going to light it up. I put this stat out. Jordan Love had 3 touchdowns yesterday. Aaron Rodgers did that once all last season. Once with the Packers, that same Packers team. Yeah, Garrett Wilson seems like the logical choice. I don't know. It might be Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook might be the smartest choice there too, because I think he might just get the most usage there. So,
and I'm looking right now on Twitter. It actually looks like it's fine. It doesn't even look bad at all. Now that could change at a moment's notice, but right now the weather looks fine.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. Let's see. We got Tony Wynn, 10 team, half PPR, got Watson IR. Would you use a waiver priority to get Dobbs, or would you prefer Puka, maybe somebody else?
I think here I would get Dobbs because there was a quote from Watson today where he said it's the hamstring on the same leg that had him miss 3 games last year, but he doesn't feel it's as severe and he doesn't think he'll need to go on IR. Which is never good when even to hear the person talk about IR. But if Watson misses another week, I mean, Dobbs will be the guy. And there's still risk with Puka. It's not because I think he's the handcuff for Christian Watson. That's not why I'm doing it. But look, Romeo Doubs is a year 2 player. I didn't know he only played 40% of the snaps. That makes me feel a little bit better about the fact he only had 5 targets. That might actually be a good thing. So I'm going Doubs between these two. I just feel better about him, especially long term.
And I think today saw something about Watson where he's like, it is the same side, right? That as last year. You probably saw it, right? It was probably in the Discord that I saw it. But it's not the same spot. But like, I don't think I have to go on IR. Like,
Right.
wait, you're not sure? It's like a little concerning. He's like, I'm good.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'll be fine next week. It wasn't like that. So you might want to hedge your bet a little bit with Doubs. Yeah. But also, like we've been saying, Doubs, long term. Look, I like Doubs. I drafted him quite a bit this preseason. Nothing has changed that. The Watson injury kind of makes that even, better. The 2 touchdowns, that helps even more. So,
yeah.
Look, if he's back to a full snap share next week, even better. He's not going to score 2 touchdowns every week, but he also might not have to. Jedi Cough, should I hang in there with Brandon Cooks, who didn't do much last night, or see if I can waive him for any of those same type of guys?
I mean, we haven't seen Gabe Davis play yet, and I don't expect a big Gabe Davis game against the Jets, but he's the guy that feels like he shouldn't be on the waiver wire to me. Like, Gabe Davis should have been drafted.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't think just because we saw Myers have a big game and Dobbs have a big game and Puka have a big game and Rachaad have a big game and Gabe not play, we should suddenly pretend like these guys should have been drafted over Gabe Davis. Like, I'm not ready to do that yet. Look, I'm not a big Gabe guy. You know this. I mean, I was in the early days, and then he didn't really do anything, and I kind of like gave up on him. But the Bills like him. He's the number 2 wide receiver in that Buffalo offense. He's always going to have potential for huge games. I'm just going to bank on that over any of these guys, to be honest. Like, Gabe is a guy who shouldn't even be on waivers, in my opinion. So, look, you can't read too much into that game last night for the Cowboys for the passing attack because the defense scored like 2 touchdowns right away, and they barely had to even throw the ball in that game. The Giants couldn't do anything. So, better. Brandon Cooks will be better for sure, but if I'm going to drop him for anybody, it's going to be Gabe Davis.
Yeah, I'm holding Cooks for now. I was pretty high on him. I think he'll be fine. Dak did nothing. The receivers did nothing because there was no reason to throw the ball, like, at all. I mean, no reason. So let's stick with him and see what happens going forward when they actually get somewhat of a challenge from the opponent. I think Cooks will be okay. So I'm holding him for now. Roast beef.
All right.
Are we worried about Ramondre?
No, not worried about Ramondre. He was on the panic video. If you want to go watch that after this, I talked about him briefly. And he's on the buy low running back video tonight if you want to watch that. Not worried.
Not worried at all. Still high on Ramondre. I mean, there's nothing that would make me just completely, flip about him. Like, it's not like a DeAndre Swift where he just didn't even see the field.
Right.
Really. Okay, I get worrying about that. Ramondre still caught several passes. He's involved. He'll be fine. Game script also wasn't in favor of running the ball there for the Patriots. And this, like, I put a couple of these out, some trades. We talked about trades that it's like you almost have to blink to make sure you see them. So somebody here, DC, got Stevenson for Pacheco.
I'm telling you. It's so often
because Pacheco did so much in week 1. They're like, oh, hey, I'll trade you, Ramondre to get him. Like, what?
Like, even this year, like I said, I went to Fantasy Calc. I looked at trades. I tried to find trades that I thought were reasonable, like not ridiculous trades like this. And still, I know I'm going to get comments from people who are like, no one's going to trade Jahmyr Gibbs for blah, blah, blah. Even though I literally just said somebody in a real league actually made this trade, people are still going to comment that. It happens all the time.
Yep.
All the time.
I think this is a good example of sell high, buy low. Trade Pittman for Higgins.
Yes. Look, it's great. He had 11 targets. He scored that touchdown. That's fantastic. But I'm not ready to just proclaim, like, Pittman this is the year. Like, I was 1 year late on Pittman. Higgins, yeah, give me Higgins. Give me Higgins here.
And I will say, look, Pittman did have a good game. Maybe I'm too low on him and Richardson. We'll see going forward. We'll see. Funny timing. Right before the game started, Sunday morning, I did trade away Pittman and somebody like, huh?
It was Pittman and Jerome Ford.
Jerome Ford. Okay, Pittman and Jerome Ford, so I could get James Cook and Jaden Reed, I think. And I was like, well, I lost Pittman, but turns out good that I have James Cook because I just lost J.K. Dobbins. So there you go. Don't feel bad about it. Roast beef again. Where do you rank Aiyuk with that nice performance?
Again, I'm not ready to move guys significantly up and down my rankings after one game. Like let's put this in perspective. It was week 1. It's all the information we have. So we're just naturally, psychologically going to put more weight on it because we don't have any other information. Let's say it was week 5 and Brandon Aiyuk had just been having like good games, like, 10 points, 12 points, 14 points. He'd been good, but not great. And then he did this in week 5. Would we significantly elevate Brandon Aiyuk? Like, oh, he's a top 5 wide receiver now. No, we would say, hey, Brandon Aiyuk had a great game. Hopefully he can keep it going. Just because it's week 1 doesn't mean, again, just because it's week 1 doesn't mean that's what's going to happen week 2, week 3, week 4, etc. I'm not ready to suddenly move guys way up and down based on what they did in week 1. Next week, this week, it'll probably be like George Kittle with 2 touchdowns, or Deebo Samuel and Kittle score a touchdown, and Aiyuk doesn't find the end zone. Like that, it's football. That's how it works. You know what I mean? So I liked Aiyuk this whole draft season. I know Pierre really liked Aiyuk this whole draft season. Happy to see him have a great week 1, but I'm not moving him up or down yet.
No, you shouldn't move anybody up and down too much. But Aiyuk, he is what we kind of figured he was going to be. He's a really solid guy with a high ceiling. This is what he can do. But he's not going to do it every week because he's not Justin Jefferson. And he's never going to get Justin Jefferson kind of target share because they have Deebo and Kittle and CMC. So, enjoy the game. And, start him every week because he can do this on a weekly basis. But, look, I'm high on Aiyuk. I was high. I'm not Clayton Hartley high on Aiyuk, where I have like an obsession with him, but I do like Aiyuk a lot. And one encouraging thing is he's been every year getting better. His numbers have kept going up. I mean, helped that he got out of the doghouse with Shanahan early in his career, but he continues to get better, and that's what you want to see. So 1,200 yards for this season, sure, I could definitely see double-digit touchdowns, easy. But I don't see him like top 5 receiver. Like I don't think that's there unless Deebo and Kittle are hurt and something, crazy happens. We got G6. Got offered D Cook for Swift. I own Hall. This is tricky. I know. I'll say why, but yeah. And he does say he has Breece Hall already.
Yeah, which makes it trickier.
Right.
Because I could see a situation where as the season goes on, Breece Hall, right now it's going to be Dalvin Cook getting more than Breece Hall, but I could see a situation as the season goes on that flips, which would be okay for you because you have Breece Hall. But I can't believe that like DeAndre Swift is going to get 3 touches a game. But I also just saw DeAndre Swift get 3 touches. And really not even come into the game until like forever. Like it was like where like he's not even out there. Like it's not like he's not getting
what's that? In week 1 though.
Yes, I know it's week 1, but I mean still it's like wait a minute, like it would have been one thing if Kenneth Gainwell was like the lead back and Swift was kind of doing it, but like he barely even saw the field. Man. I want to say Dalvin Cook, but I feel like I'm just overreacting to week 1.
Well, getting Dalvin Cook is not a bad thing, right?
Right.
I'll just say this. I think right now for the next couple of games, at least several games, who knows how long, I think you'll be happier to have Dalvin Cook. But I wonder, and I worry that when the fantasy playoffs come around, you might wish that you got DeAndre Swift, because DeAndre Swift will get used more. Not that he'll be a feature back, but he's in that Philly offense. He doesn't need that many touches. And then you might think, well, what happened to Dalvin Cook? Like, he's not getting as many touches early in the season. And now Breece Hall's coming on. So that's why I think long-term here, I think you might prefer to have Swift. And if you already have Hall, I think maybe just play the long game and just hope that Swift and Hall are the guys that turn out to be better come week 14, 15. But it also depends who else you have at running back. If you're starting, I mean, if Swift is your RB2 right now, yeah, I get that you want an upgrade, but it kind of depends. But I don't know. For me, I'm not giving up on Swift. I'm holding tight on Swift. It's just one game. I think he'll get used more. I think this is kind of a Jahmyr Gibbs-ish situation, even though it's a different situation. I think he'll get used more. So just how much more?
You can't get used less. That's a good.
No, that is true. He cannot get used less. At least he wasn't the healthy scratch. Like Rachaad Penny, you can just
that.
Yeah. And then we have apparently a new member, a YouTube member. We do memberships on YouTube. I mean,
yes,
we're not
we
really
do. You can join below. Yes, thank you, DC.
Yeah, we appreciate that. All right, so let's get to his question here. Okay, this is interesting. In Dynasty, how do you feel about Terry, who yes played and no didn't do anything?
This is a great question because I feel like Terry McLaurin is older than a lot of people realize. Now he's a wide receiver. I mean, he's still in his prime, but I think this is his age 27 season. It doesn't feel like he's been around that long. Let me look it up and make sure I'm not giving you guys bad info here, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be entering his age. No, he's already 28. He's already 28. Exactly. See, you're like, what? He's 28 already. Which is, for wide receivers is okay, but at what point do we say, like, we have never seen an elite season from Terry McLaurin, and he's 28 years old, and I'm not sure Sam Howell this year will be the answer. At least the answer he might be the answer as far as like the Commanders quarterback, but I don't know if he'll be the answer to bringing Terry McLaurin his first elite season. So now you're going into next year, 29-year-old Terry McLaurin, hoping that Sam Howell gives 29-year-old Terry McLaurin his first elite season, which that's a big ask. So I'm not feeling great about Terry McLaurin in Dynasty, honestly. I'm really not. I think he's okay, but I think he's still severely overvalued in Dynasty. He's a guy I would definitely be looking to trade away if I had him.
And the other issue there is now they have another wide receiver who's younger and might wind up being better, or at least as good. I mean, Dotson, could be the number one guy there, or at least, they're pretty equal. It's not like Terry has all of the target share in his path, So, yeah, I'm not feeling great about him. I think he's solid, but you might want to move on now if your team, is younger. And you know what? Maybe it doesn't really matter, because if you're in win now mode, how much is Terry really going to help you win this year? And if you're going young, then we should want to move on. So probably try to field offers for him. Don't sell low, but field some offers. Ronnie, what's up, Ronnie?
What's up, Ronnie?
Speaking of that trade, enjoy your Pittman. Have Eckler, Walker, Gibbs, and one of the Jay Williamses, Scott Pittman. Yes, you do. Evans, Debo, MT, Puka. Would you trade Walker and Evans for D-Hop and JT?
Man, cannot feel great about D-Hop. I don't know if you saw a stat. I don't know if you saw the stat I posted today 13 targets. That's great. That part's great. Somehow, on 13 targets from Ryan Tannehill, according to True Media, 85% of them were catchable. Now, I'm not a math major, not a mathematician, but I'm pretty sure 7 is not 85% of 13. That means DeAndre Hopkins did not catch the catchable passes. And Ryan Tannehill, you better take advantage of the catchable passes when you get from Ryan Tannehill, because you don't get a lot of them. I don't know if you saw that flea flicker to Chigo Okonkwo.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Brutal.
Yeah, Tannehill was brutal most of the game.
Yeah. So I don't feel great about how can we feel great about D-Hop the rest of the season when he just had a 13 target game and only caught 7 of them? Like, I think D-Hop's a floor play, but I don't think D-Hop has any higher of a ceiling than Mike Evans, to be honest.
Right. And then you're taking the risk with JT. So it's like Walker for JT. Like, well, JT could be better than Walker, but he also could not play.
Yeah. So, but you got Eckler, you got Gibbs, you got Walker. I mean, you could probably get by without JT for the next few weeks.
I think
maybe,
I'm not as discouraged on D-Hop, but I think what you said is exactly it. Is his ceiling really that much higher than Evans? And I'm not big on Evans this year, but I mean, you're like, oh, Baker Mayfield, but Ryan Tannehill.
Exactly.
I mean, come on. What are we splitting hairs here? So,
right.
Yeah, and they're both older receivers, big receivers. There's so many similarities. It's like the biggest similarity is they're both in not very great pass offenses. So, yeah, the risk in JT versus what you got in Walker. Yeah, I feel like there's just too much risk here.
Yeah, I probably keep the Walker Evans side, to be honest, but yeah.
Country connected. Got Fields, Bijan, Stevenson, Dobbins, St. Brown, Hawk, Dalvin, and on the bench you had Aiyuk. Oh, hopefully wasn't on your bench this week. And then you have Addison, Pirine, Dobbs, and Zay. What would you change for week 2? But wait, you have Fields. You have. Wait, you only have 2 receivers. No, you only have 1 receiver listed. Like, who do you start at receiver?
Yeah, is it like a 1 wide receiver league, and you please don't tell me you flex Dalvin Cook over Brandon Aiyuk. Yeah, I really hope that didn't happen.
I don't think I would have recommended that.
I know for a fact neither of us would have recommended Dalvin Cook over Brandon Aiyuk. No chance. We might have recommended some people over Brandon Aiyuk who didn't outscore Brandon Aiyuk because, I mean, Brandon Aiyuk had a monster game. But Dalvin Cook, I guarantee you, was not one of those people.
No.
How do you change for week 2? I mean, get Aiyuk in your lineup, obviously, if he's not. Obviously, you can drop Dobbins is definitely droppable. He's out for the season. If Dobbins was healthy, I'd say this is a team that probably could trade for JT because you would have Bijan, Stevenson, and Dobbins. But now you're down to Bijan, Stevenson, Dalvin, and Pirine. I'm not sure. I mean, maybe this team could still trade for JT. You could probably roll with Bijan and Stevenson until JT comes back, to be honest. And if something happens, Dalvin and Pirine should be okay in a pinch. Pirine looked pretty good yesterday, by the way. Looked pretty good yesterday. Yeah, I would just say get Aiyuk in your lineup. And if that's Zay Flowers, I'd try to get him in my lineup too.
Yeah, I hope. Well, hey, Zay Jones looked really good too, actually. But I would say this: if Dalvin Cook does have a good game tonight, go ahead and immediately throw an offer Dalvin Cook for JT straight up and see if the guy takes it.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, maybe you throw in Dobbs coming off a 2-touchdown game. And if he doesn't want Dalvin, oh well. But I'm not trading away, of course, not trading Bijan at all, and not trading Stevenson for JT.
No.
So if the JT owner doesn't want Dalvin, I don't know that what else, I don't think I would trade your receivers either because you need receivers if this is what you got. So otherwise, then just drop Dobbins, pick up another running back. I think you'll be all right. You have a pretty good team, actually. Pretty good starting team.
Yeah.
What about this, Mark? Cleveland trade Pierce for Pittman or Gainwell? No. Like
I'm not trading Pierce. I'm not trading Pierce for Gainwell. I know Pierce had a rough day against that Ravens defense. But better days will be ahead for Pierce. I'm not worried about him. I might trade him for Pittman if you really need a wide receiver. And this isn't because Pittman had a big game and I think Pittman's going to be awesome now. But Pittman, if your wide receiver 3 right now is, Odell Beckham, or your wide receiver 3, who's somebody who actually is a viable wide receiver 3 that's probably not very good. Let's say your wide receiver 3 is Courtland Sutton. Well, I know he had a decent game, but you really don't want to rely on Courtland Sutton every week for the rest of the season. And let's say you have some good running back depth, like maybe Pierce is your RB3, or maybe you have another decent running back on your bench. I would trade him for Pittman. I think that's a fair trade if you need wide receiver, but not for Gainwell. I'd rather just have Pierce rest of the season than Gainwell.
No, Gainwell is a pickup off the waiver wire if he's there. He's not. You shouldn't be trading for a guy after week 1 that was just picked up. That's not how to do it. So you could do that, yeah, but don't look to dump low. Again, you don't want to sell low on a guy like Pierce. I think he'll be fine. Got some spam to get rid of now. Actually, I think we're almost about to hit kickoff for the Monday night game. So let's do a few more.
I did want to bring this one up because
sorry, this is Country Connected again. Going back to previous one, following it up. It's a league that has 2 running back receiver slots.
Oh, it's 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
1 running back, you got Bijan, 1 receiver, St. Brown, and then 1 flex. But then you got more than that listed in your starting lineup if the rest is bench. So,
yeah, that's an interesting format. I think I probably still go Aiyuk over Stevenson if it's PPR, but it's close between those guys.
Yeah. All right.
But I did want to bring this one up because we do know, especially after week 1, fantasy football is pain. But it's not pain if you drafted Tyreek Hill at the 101.
The 1.1, that is bold, but smart, apparently.
Apparently.
I mean, not that you're disappointed in Jefferson, but
no.
Yeah. No. Hey, what if Tyreek gets that 2,000-yard season he's been talking about? And then everyone's going to be wishing, I should have known. I should have drafted Tyreek. Well,
We can see. I saw an interesting tweet that kind of makes sense, and you as a baseball fan, I know, will relate to this. We could have a Maguire Sosa year this year between Jefferson and Tyreek Hill, because these are the 2 guys. Like, for as good as Aiyuk was, he needed 2 touchdowns. For as good as Calvin Ridley was, he needed a touchdown. And look, I know Tyreek Hill scored touchdowns, but he also got 40-something points. Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill are the only 2 guys I can think of who can give you 20-plus point games without touchdowns. Like, Justin Jefferson just dropped a 20-plus point game and never scored. He scored, 7 touchdowns last year? Like, we could see these 2 guys race for 2,000 yards this year, realistically. We could see it could be like a Sosa Maguire year where it's like, now Jefferson's in the lead. Now it's Tyreek. That would be so great. Wouldn't that be so great? That would be so awesome.
That would be great. It wouldn't surprise me. Look, the way that, they talk about no receiver going to 2,000 yards, obviously Cup was close, but it wouldn't shock me if this is the year, right? The way the offenses are built around receivers and the passing game. Hey, that wouldn't be too disappointing. We got a couple more super chats here. Corey Creekmore. Now, I really
come on.
Don't think this can't be Brian Robinson, right? Like, I like Brian Robinson. Don't get me wrong. I touted him all off season, but there's no way.
No, take T Higgins. Like, don't give up T Higgins for Brian Robinson. But if you're getting T Higgins, take that and run. Now, if it's Bijan Robinson, if you typoed and it's Bijan Robinson, keep Bijan Robinson.
I have to think that's got to be what it is, right? There's no way somebody is not taking Brian Robinson for T Higgins.
People overreact.
Okay, if it's Bijan, no, you keep Bijan or get Bijan, whichever one it is. don't trade Bijan. Yes, trade Brian Robinson for T. Higgins if that is even possible. I don't know. Little Isaiah, who would you prefer, Higgins or Judy?
This is what I mean. You say it's not possible. It's Higgins. It's definitely Higgins. I put Judy on the buy low wide receiver window because there's some people have gotten very low on Jerry Jeudy because he didn't play week 1 and Courtland Sutton scored a touchdown. And I guess that's all they needed to see to know that Jerry Jeudy is going to be a bust this year. But I don't think Jerry Jeudy is going to be great this year. He's going to be like a wide receiver 3 with maybe some upside if Russ can microwave. I don't think Russ is going to cook, but maybe he can microwave something. But come on. T. Higgins, just because that one bad game? No, definitely T. Higgins.
Like, we didn't see anything from Judy week 1 because he didn't play, but I saw enough from Russ to know that it's not going to happen. I mean, he'll be fine.
Yes.
Like, okay. His receivers will be good sometimes, but nah, the old Russ, I think, is just gone. Sad to say. Denver, look, maybe behind the strength of their defense and they don't turn the ball over, maybe they squeak into a playoff spot. But they did just lose to the Raiders. Am I right? Didn't they just lose to the Raiders?
Did they lose that game?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the Raiders won like by a point or something. I mean, and it was the Raiders defense and they scored like 16 points. When is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? Trust me, it's not because Jerry Jeudy is like the difference maker. So no. I'm definitely keeping Higgins or taking Higgins.
For some reason, I thought the Broncos won that game. You're right. They lost that game by 17 to 6. Oh, jeez.
I know. Roland dropping Kendry and a Shane for Kyron and Kelly. What do you think?
I think that's fair. I mean, Kendry Miller been battling injury. Who knows when he's going to get on the field? And a Shane being a healthy scratch week 1. Look, maybe as the season goes on, he'll work into this rotation. But remember, Jeff Wilson's coming back week 5. They already said it. So I think right now it's okay.
Yeah, Kendry, no reason to really keep him. A Shane, maybe eventually, but right now, no. That team is not going to run the ball that much. Plus, I did see like their running efficiency was pretty bad.
Yeah.
So, and the Chargers don't have a good run defense. So go for the guys. In this case, it's not an overreaction. Go for the running backs who are actually getting touches. So Kyron and Kelly, because volume is what matters. Last question here from DC, our member. Peyton and Eli or just a plain old ESPN crew?
I don't really like the ESPN crew much, but I usually just prefer like the ESPN crew. Even though I think Peyton and Eli are great, to be honest with you. But when I watch football, I just want to like hear people talking about the football game and not, telling stories and stuff like that and interviewing random people. So I go the ESPN crew, but honestly, a lot of times I just mute it.
I was gonna say, or choice C, just mute or put music on or something. Yeah.
Yes.
Peyton. I like Peyton. I think they're funny in small doses, but I don't want to hear like a half hour of it, much less 3 hours of it. So, it's only so much. It's like, okay, like I get it. And then the ESPN crew, like whatever, like they're fine. Yeah. I'd rather just hear the play-by-play, like you said. So that's it. And it is game time, but definitely hit the like button. We appreciate that. Thanks for joining us, guys. Enjoy the game and check back with us tomorrow. We'll be live again to help answer your waiver wire questions, your early start sit questions, whatever you got, throw it at us. We'll be here. All right. Enjoy Monday Night.